In this video I'm going to show you how to use a different piece of software, GeoGebra in fact, to analyze some continuous data and group it like we did with the other videos using a pivot table in Excel. It turns out that it's very easy to use GeoGebra, and I'll show you how. The data I'm looking at again is the national minimum wage data set, and I'm going to use the same column of data which was the people's estimates of how much the minimum wage was for people who are 21 and over. So it's continuous data, it's got a whole bunch of blanks in it, but I'm going to copy this data using Control-C, and I'm going to put it into a GeoGebra window. Here's my GeoGebra window. But there's nowhere to put it when you boot up a GeoGebra window, so just as a reminder, to get the Spreadsheet View up, click on View and Spreadsheet, and there is a place which we can copy some data. I'm going to use Control-V to paste that. There it is, all turned up, including the blanks, which may or may not be a problem. I'm just going to change this top cell to rename it to call it the estimated wage, which is a slightly shorter description of what's going on. And I'm going to use the built-in variable analysis tools by clicking on the column of data and going to the one variable analysis tool up here. There are other options. You can always have a look at the drop down to see what you could choose, but I only have one variable which I want to analyze, so this is the one for me. And when I click on it, it tells me the data it's going to use. And notice a few things. First of all, the estimated wage is part of the data, but I can tell it to use that as a title by saying use header as title from the little gear option up there. And the other nice thing is that there was a blank at the top of the column that's gone. There was a blank, or in fact two blanks after 6.4, and that's gone. So GeoGebra is picking out the blank values because obviously it doesn't know how to analyze them. So it's just ignoring them and using this raw set of data. And if I click on Analyze, it will start to analyze it. In fact, it'll do all the jobs I want it to do, but it only shows me a histogram at first. And we've seen this in maybe some other videos. First thing to realize though, you can make this window bigger, and this is a useful way to resize a chart that you might want to work with. It can be any size you like. But the fact that it has drawn histogram means it must have grouped the data for me, and it wasn't grouped a moment ago. Actually, you can see this if you click on the options window. You can see a whole bunch of things, and the obvious one that's going to be useful for us since we are after a grouped table is this tick box here, the frequency table. And if I tick that, it shows me the frequency table that it's using to draw this histogram, which is great. It's done that all automatically behind the scenes. The intervals here are maybe not the most intuitive though, so we should sort that out. They are coming from the fact that this slider was setting how many classes to slot it into. So if I start changing this, you can see the histogram changes, and so does the frequency table. They're still not the most intuitive boundaries though, so we can set this manually, and maybe that's what we should do now. There's a little tick box up here. It says set classes manually. Let's do this. I'm going to tell it to start the classes at a guess of £1 for the minimum wage. It doesn't look like anyone went below that, and we'll go up in ones. So we're going to go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and so on. So if I click return there, you can see that it's now got this histogram grouped into nice ones, and the frequency table down here is also grouped nicely into ones. Now we do have the same problem that we had in Excel. It's not clear from this particular labeling whether 3 would be included in that category or that category, but at least GeoGebra is working a bit more mathematically, and you can tell it what to do, and that is being told up here on the right. It says the class rule at the moment is less than or equal to X, and then less than. And this one means that the class includes the lower boundary and doesn't include the upper boundary, but I could change that by saying less than or equal to less than X and then less than or equal to the next boundary, in which case it would include the upper boundary. And you can see this does change the data. Have a look at the histogram and some of the numbers here while I click on this button. There you can see that some of the numbers have changed and the picture has changed slightly. So that rule does change. It tells you which one it's using though, even though it doesn't make it obvious in the frequency table. Now if you just wanted this frequency table, you could select it and copy it, and even go back to the spreadsheet in GeoGebra itself over there and just paste it in. And that's just the text which I analysed in another video using Excel. So you could get that in the same way very easily with GeoGebra. I think this is a neat way to get frequency grouped. You can also see some other statistics if you click on the Show Statistics button up here. You can make this bigger or smaller, and you see some also helpful information here. You've got the number of bits of data, you've got the mean. That's the mean from the raw data. It's not an estimated mean, but you've got all sorts of other things: the standard deviation, the sample standard deviation, and lots of other things if you want them. And the nice thing about GeoGebra is that once you analyze the raw data, all the calculations are done. You've just got to find them and use them as you wish. So that's how to use GeoGebra to group some data.